All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the MisFitNation. Yeah! Mic in the room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Authors with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up. This is our song. Yeah. This is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed. That's the misstep play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. Stop right now. We're the more than you know. Don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is fabrication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home. You belong.
Woo! All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation and your Sunday after dinner edition. Tonight we have a good one, a great story about to be told, a great journey about to be shared with us. Our guests are living proof that the mission doesn't end when military service does. Kevin and Lauren Wallace and their dog, the team behind an incredible national mission called Valor. He is a United States Air Force veteran, retired combat photojournalist, Purple Heart recipient, and Bronze Star with Valor recipient. He served at the highest levels, including as a photographer for Air Force One, and understands sacrifice firsthand. She is a cultural anthropologist and a history scholar whose passion for preserving stories gives this mission depth, purpose, and historical meaning. Together, they made a bold decision. They stepped away from the comfort, moved into a converted FedEx van, and set out across America to document the stories of Purple Heart recipients and Gold Star families before those voices are lost to time. They've traveled tens of thousands of miles, met heroes in living rooms, farms, VFW halls, and small towns, and reminded families that sacrifice will not be forgotten. Their motto says it all. The highest form of honor is to remember. Today, we're talking about service after service, preserving legacy, healing through purpose, and why remembering matters now more than ever. Kevin and Lauren, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So good to be here.
It's great to have you guys here. Once I linked in with you guys on Facebook, then seen you on the home front sit rep, I said I got to have you guys on here as well and just chat with you and learn about this journey. And I can just see me and my wife fighting in a van for as long as you guys were in it and making a story. 'Cause we always joke about the Amazing Race and how we'd kill each other on it, but you two made it through a very long journey and met a lot of amazing human beings along the way. And I just wanted to thank you for doing that. And then after I thank you, take your story as far back as you want to go to how we got here.
Brother, we'll gladly accept that. Thank you. And you were very welcome. And thank you for your service. And something to add to that crazy journey is that it was our honeymoon. We eloped and went to get married in the Highlands of Scotland. And after that, made sure we went by train down to London to see our dearest friend, Paul Williams, and Lorraine Smith. Paul, unfortunately, is dying of cancer, so he's still alive. And if he's watching this, hey, come on, you irons. But we had to get over and see him, and we eloped over there, got married, came back. We had been planning the mission for about 2 years, but we had to finalize everything really quick and get on the road. And it was a whirlwind of a wedding, never a honeymoon. And as you said, yeah, think about let's just call it an apartment because we lived in it. Our apartment was 50 square feet. Wow. It was also a vehicle. It was also our office because it was our mobile recording studio. And it's like where our kitchen was in little boxes and we'd take it out. We shared a twin bed that folded off the wall. So we literally were living in not much larger than those sleeping pods in Tokyo for the first 9 months of our marriage, which is, I don't know how she didn't kill me. I know I didn't kill her because she's wonderful, but I don't know how she didn't kill me. That's pretty amazing in itself. That should be another book.
There you go. How to survive a trip with my brand new wife.
Yeah. But yeah, so after that, I think now living here in Northport, this is plenty of space and we're spread out and writing and we're able to unpack the work. But as you talked about tens of thousands of miles, yeah, it was a marathon, 27,106 mile journey, which if you think about it, let's just pick somewhere common. Okay, New York City. If you leave New York City and you drive, if this were possible, around the globe, all the way around that same latitude, came back to New York City, didn't stop, kept going and drove all the way to San Diego, that's that distance.
Wow.
Weaving up and down highways, byways, trails. At one point, we had to get a boat to get to a place called Angle Inlet in Minnesota because we didn't want to bring the van through Canada. We wanted to keep this all lower 48. And there was a lead to get an interview there. So we actually had to get on a boat and go up there and do that. So we were willing to do anything to get to where the story was. Not as bloodthirsty journalists, as a fellow, combat veteran and Purple Heart recipient that doesn't want another brother or sister story to be lost to time, like so many others. So that was the difference also in our approach that I think got its own legs and traveled. It was trust. It was that we're not, if we were CNN, the story would be a lot larger, but the fact that we're not and we come from within, the story doesn't have the same legs, but it's genuine and it's real and it's raw and we're not going to exploit anyone. So that's something we carried with us the whole way through.
Yeah.
No agenda behind it that gains viewers. It's just sharing the stories of those who made those sacrifices and did those highest honors. So it's outstanding that you did that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. There's 2 stories out there that I haven't sat down to interview them properly, but both these men I've known for more than a decade. So I took the liberty in one case of telling their story through everything I know and emailing them, which I don't really like. And then another one was his, he told a speech, but these guys, so I'm meeting them to make it right this summer in August up in Ohio, and then in one case, and then the other case we're going, Lauren and I, to stay with them for about 4 days and help him finish building his wife's long overdue sewing room. So yeah, if you're watching this, Bob's on or Angie's on, we're coming to stay with you and we're going to help Bob finish that sewing room. So these two men were going to, like, I need to make sure I sit down and hear their stories and give it proper, because knowing it and letting them tell it are two different things. So that were two, I think, learning sort of lessons I learned along the way too, which is kind of interesting for someone who's been doing this as long as I think I have. You just never can take things for granted.
Exactly. Every day is a gift, so you have to take every day as that gift and open it up and go with it, and not just expect it to be there.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about your service in the Air Force. I mean, I hit a couple of high points for you there, and I'm sure you had other points within the service. And why did you choose the Air Force?
Yeah. Okay. So I did a number of jobs in the Air Force, but I think hinging on the job as a combat photographer to me was, and then eventually, as you mentioned, Air Force One, and I'll get to that really quickly too, but I'll go through it really quick. But for me, I think as that combat photojournalist and part of combat camera teams, and in one case, a media combat team, which was a Task Force 45 and 6th Alpini Regiment team that two Navy guys and I belong to. So also these joint or foreign teams. And Task Force 45 were like the tier 1 from Italy, and they were really super high speed dudes. And I'll just leave it at that with those dudes. But it's I don't know, you get attached to some pretty interesting situations out there, which was really cool. But it's not about me. It's just that, like, the caliber and the uniqueness of some of the people I got to work in close proximity of because of that allowed me to see heroism in real time in my life. I mean, we've all seen, we were soldiers, and how First Cav took that hill relentlessly and relentlessly and relentlessly. And we personally know some of the people that were at that battle because of this mission. But it's like, in my own service, I don't think any other way in the Air Force I would have found myself continually around our nation and our allied nation's bravest men and women had I not found myself in that job. So I'll go ahead and say that. And a unique part about the Air Force is it was, I think it goes back to a boot camp mentality, which you could also say the same for the Navy. If you take a soldier or a Marine, they're a rifleman first, right out of boot camp, and your primary weapon is your rifle and your MOS is something else. You take a sailor or an airman, typically they have a more complicated system on a boat or on an airfield that they're responsible for. So they are oftentimes a technician first, and if they're a rifleman at all, hopefully it never gets to that level. So the unique thing about my job is very much a rifle was just as much my weapon as my camera. But also in that job, knowing that I will continue to use my camera and not automatically use my rifle, a lot of joint teams wanted Air Force photographers. So we would continue to do the photography mission and not drop our camera and immediately start firing. Like, I'm not disparaging other branches, but a lot of times people in my particular MOS in other branches could go out on a mission, and when things happen, come back and have done a lot of good for the team, but not executed part of the primary MOS. And if in part of that was, let's say they were looking for intel and they come back without any of those photographs, well, great, you were another M4, but there were more qualified M4s to have there to begin with. So, my job primarily was a photographer, and I know that, and I knew that. And I think and that's one thing. And there's not a lot I can brag on about the Air Force when it comes to ground stuff, but I will say in that career field, I think we were highly sought after because people knew they were getting a professional photographer first, who all by the way is trained in some tactics and riflemanship and things like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's the most eloquent way I could put it.
Lauren, give us a little about your background as well.
All right. Well, I met Kevin during COVID, of all places. I had a unique opportunity to be at a remote research institute trying to save the world through renewable energies, all that kind of jazz. And peeking behind the curtains of trying to save the oceans was quite a lot. It was more depressing than I've anticipated it being. And at that time, Kevin and I, we linked up, we started dating, and also we had started a nonprofit together. So it was shifting focus from trying to save the oceans to focusing on using an art maker space as a form of non-traditional therapy to overcome means. We would set up like portable rage tent we actually set up during a Blue Skies event. Well, Kevin coined it the rage tent because you could Bluetooth into whatever kind of music, and you go in there, you have an easel, you have a canvas, you have spray paint, you have a respirator if you decide to be safe while using spray paint, all of those kinds of things. So you could throw paint or put on classical music and work on something. But we had this pretty much unique thing that if anybody needed a one-of-a-kind space to be able to process something through non-traditional talk therapy or things like that, they had the ability to. And so that's really what got our wheels rolling on the whole of the nonprofit sector, which is deep down the bones of what eventually became the Van of Valor project. So like I said, it was COVID round number 2 came around, and we had to close down our physical space. And so we packed up all of the art supplies, put that in a storage unit, and was trying to figure out what to do. And well, in the midst of all of this, this magical package appeared on our doorstep. It was the directory from the Military Order of the Purple Heart. So because of COVID, they had delayed the process of getting it out. And so it appeared on our doorstep when we were least expecting it. And so thumbing through that, we looked at the local area, found all of the Purple Hearts from our town, the city, the county, this whole region, part of the state of Eastern North Carolina. And it was just one thing after another once the MOP directory appeared on our doorstep.
Yeah, it became our white pages early on. As a matter of fact, in the very beginning of Van of Valor, in the very beginning, we were down in the panhandle of Florida. We had at that point done probably 30 interviews, and then we had some fall through up in the Fort Walton Beach area, and we were thumbing through once again the MOF directory, and we came upon a woman named Patty Hazelwood who introduced us to her husband, who was a special forces navigator, and he did all kinds of cool things in Vietnam and then other wars. And then she introduced us to a plethora of other people. And then through her, we found our one that I don't want to tell it, but it is let's just say a Flags of Our Father letter for Iwo Jima unique anecdotal story that's in the book that she brought to us. And it's familial, and it's really cool because it's so different than every story in there, but it's so tragically unique. I wish I could talk about it, but I don't want to be a spoiler alert. But it's a really cool thing that she brought to the story, and we all found that by
cold calling of this. So we would I would create the list of the area that we were about to go into, list all of the numbers, and have a checklist spot to see if they picked up, I left a voicemail, or if it was just blocked entirely kind of thing. Because a lot of people in the modern day don't just answer random phone numbers at all. So it was really interesting to keep track of the data between figuring out which numbers were still active, who had passed away, which is actually another interesting factor. About a third of the numbers that we called were either disconnected, or we found the obituaries to those individuals.
Wow.
But for those who did answer, it was a mixture of, oh, I'm on the road, I'm on the way, driving home, I'm making a left turn right now. Who is this?
Yeah, we had
Or oh, this is an interesting topic. Okay, give me your information. I will look you up, and then I will get back to you.
Yeah, it's a lot of let me vet you. And I'm thinking, did I just call someone in the agency, or are you You are that 11 Bravo from the Gulf War, right?
So I'm
Okay, go
looking
ahead
at
and
your
get me.
picture in the directory. Here's your quote right here. Here's
It's
how I
fun.
found you.
Yeah, it was so fun. All of these encounters were, man,
I hope I
each
didn't
one,
bring it wrong when it came through here.
oh, so unique, so unique, and so unique. And it just rolled from one thing to another. And being out there on the road, there was like, so we never actually ever had a chance to take a day off. In our 280 days, we did 317 interviews, which I don't know mathematically what that equates to, but probably like 1.3 a day or something, which didn't obviously happen every day because our country's massive and we drove that amount of miles. But there were days where we would drive, we'd wake up, get going. Lauren, we had a Starlink, would be working as I was driving most of the time, working things out, get to an interview. It would be almost, we'd take them to dinner, have the interview, whatever, be working into the night, wake up, do it again. Occasionally you would be in a location where there was like 2 or 3 interviews back to back. Twice we were in locations where there were several, and that was really what enabled us to get those numbers, because our goal was originally 100. Very easy, 100. That's what we wanted to do before A250, was tell 100 stories from any branch of these stories of sacrifice. But what had happened was we got on the road and it was like wildfire. People are like, "Oh, well, my uncle over here," and it's like, you can't say no. How can you say no?
No.
So we just kept going and going and going and going and going and going. And then the van issue after van issue. And it wasn't without drama, but we're not dramatic people, which made it even crazier, because we would really, that part, which I think a lot of, I don't know, people who watch sort of those traveling podcasts or those traveling vlog type things, they like the drama, when we really hate drama in our life. But I think if we showcased as much drama as we had, we'd have been like a Netflix hit, because it was continually something breaking down. And when you hate your job, but you love your home life, you can cope. Or when you hate your home life and you love your job, you can cope or whatever. But when you hate your office space, it's your car, that's your house, that's your job, that's your home life. And this little beast of a thing is everything you have other than her and the dog are the 2 things that really mattered. But you look at it and you're like, I'm going to burn you down really soon. You will die, is what I thought about looking at that van several times. But we got through it. We got through it, man. We got through it. It's crazy.
What's the best floor, the most unique place you guys got to drive to during this time?
Hey, I will say one of the most unique spots on the whole of the planet is the Redwood Forest over there on the edge of Northern California.
Yeah.
It just being around those trees that are wider than the van is long really made it feel like we were not in this big behemoth of a van, but actually like a little bug crawling along the bottom of the forest. And it just felt like it put everything into a grander perspective of time.
Yeah, I agree. Never have I ever felt smaller in this universe than standing in those redwood trees. Number 2 to that, I would say, was looking out at the Grand Canyon.
Yep, that was my number 2.
Yeah. Never have I felt smaller or more in touch with, for what I consider God, but I'm Christian, but universe, or whatever you want to insert there. In those 2 locations, you're looking at trees that are as old as Christ, if I'm allowed to say that on your podcast here, is Jesus, really, like that, like ancient trees. And it bewilders your mind. It really humbles you in every which way,
Yeah, my brother went to, him and his wife, they went through the redwoods, I think 2 years ago, and he just posted in the redwood forest is great. And he drives a little Kia Soul at home. I'm not sure what he was driving at that time, so I'm sure if he had the Soul up there, that thing would be just like a rock up there as well. But
oh yeah,
if your van looked like a bug, the Kia Soul would be a rock. So a pebble.
Yeah. And other unique places, man, there's so much. What I found is, I don't know, like, I thought, having been in the military for 20 years and meeting people from all these branches and all these cool guys from all these places, that you would have known everyone. But yeah, I guess in all the big cities, you can you can create a culture or an art center that creates things, but out in the country, out in the not the cultural epicenters of this country, you find so many unique cultures out there. Out in out in just like the bayous in Louisiana and some very remote places in New England and Maine and New York and all across the South and, oh my gosh, the West. In the Southwest, you get some very interesting people. And it's just our country is made of so many unique and individual people. And you can think you can go TDY or TAD or whatever you want to call it to every state by the end of your career. But until you really drive them all contiguous without stop in one full swoop like we did, it's when you finally realize the gravity of it all and what I don't know. I wish every American could experience it because you feel fully connected to the entire American experience. And it's very different in Portland than it is in, remote Iowa. It definitely is. But, to see it all in one fell swoop it just felt like a one in a lifetime time experiences. And to do that on the tail end of trying to overcome a lot of, moral injury and things and suicide ideology and things that happened in my past. So to connect with other people who have been through a lot of that too, the networking and the buddy check was just massive. What was that one? But we had a buddy check that sent us on like a week-long escapade to South Dakota.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was so interesting. Yeah, we got a phone call from one of your Marine buddies who was saying, we know what reservation this guy is on. He's gone code dark on us, but if you're up there, can you just ask around? And so, well, we were poking around on the res, and when you're a big behemoth of a van with names and an American flag painted on the side of it.
And two güeros.
And yeah, asking around for somebody, you kind of get noticed. And it was one of those days that we were filling up our gas tank, diesel tank, and we got approached by two individuals who said, "Why are you asking around?" Like pretty much trying to get all of
here.
Yeah, a little bit of that, a little bit of a
Yeah.
chest puff. And it was like, honestly, we're looking for a brother. We're looking for this Marine. Like, let me tell you his name and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, I know him. And they're like, I'm like, okay, well, can you tell us anything? They're like, no. It's like, well, can you take my number? And we're just going to go back to Sioux Falls because we have another guy we need to interview, which was, a couple hours away. And we'll be at, and we needed to get the van worked on because the radiator was about to blow up. So we're going to go get the van worked on. We're going to be at this hotel in Sioux Falls. Give us a call when you learn something. And they did. They called a few days later in homeboy, because he doesn't want to be said, is living like, okay, he served honorably and he loved his time in the Marine Corps and all that. But I think, we're a complicated nation and he's not politically happy with everything. He is not right now here. So he decided to move, and he was half Canadian. He decided to move up to Saskatchewan, Manitoba. And he's living up there, and he's off the grid only because he's happy and he's doing his own thing up there, fishing and all that. And he doesn't want to be bothered, but he's not dangerously off the grid.
He's off the grid, but he's not code dark in the way that his buddies need to worry about him, was the message that was transmitted back to us.
So we were able to get that. And then after that, they're like, you know what, though? There's this hero here on the res, and he was like an elder. But so in the Vietnam era, a draftee from their res became a Marine Corps helicopter. Was he a door pilot? And he was shot down three times in Vietnam, but very heroic helicopter pilot, and came back and became a tribal elder and everything, was buried on the res. And they brought us to his gravesite. So we got to pay in our own ways honors to him. And we got to experience a little bit of their culture and see some things and spend time in his gravesite and hear all of his stories. And through those anecdotes of the people who knew him, who were much younger than him, but knew him as an elder and heard his stories, and then things we found in unclassified CIA documents and the multiple medals he had from the Marine Corps and stuff, we were able to validate his entire story. And then able to tell his story. So like, what is that if nothing serendipity and just.
And that was Major Basil Heth Jr.
Yeah.
We've written a couple of stories on him. He's included in the book. And Kevin's actually been creatively turning some of these stories into songs. And there's one that he actually made about Major Basil Heth Jr.
Yeah. Wow. And I used a lot of the footage we had from the res and stuff, and I used their I got the use of AI to help me get singing of their native tongue. But I made sure that it was accurate to everything I could find online and stuff. And I've reached out to actually their cultural organization and stuff out there, and we've talked to them, and we tried to help another native from Wyoming who was also a hero from Vietnam who lost his home in a tornado, and we tried to get a fundraiser started for that. But his tribal people, he was also an elder, had given him a home, and he was all well taken care of. But we were able to. So there were two distinctive Native Americans randomly, both officers and both very like important people in their tribes that we were able to. Let's just come across. That's how powerful the Van of Valor mission was. It was just one thing to another, to another, to another, and we just couldn't stop, literally till the wheels fell off, which happened more than once. Yeah.
That was going to be one of my only questions I had planned to ask, was mechanical issues with that van going across the country, and there's thousands of miles that you guys drove. How bad was that? And how hard was it to find service?
Impossible, because Sprinter vans can only go to these massive Mercedes dealers, especially when the countdown starts, and no one else can do anything about it. So we had, let me just get the grief out of me, then I'll give a big shout out. So we had like 4 major malfunctions and 2 pretty major, and then like a tire slice and some other things. But some of the major ones. So on day 1, so we left the Outer Banks of North Carolina, right where the first English colony settlement ever was, right on Roanoke Island, which is where our first Purple Heart interview was hosted. Very deliberate. Where it all started for our country is where we started our mission, and we started our Connecting the Purple Heart Trail. As we head towards Raleigh, Durham, just out there near Keegan Stadium, I think it's called, we're in the center lane of 3 lanes of traffic, and it's rush hour traffic, and we get the death rattle. And I'm like, shit, let me get off to the side and see what's happening. I'm throwing my blinker on. No one's letting us in. No one. I'm finally, as soon as I get my nose in, the rear driver's side tire and wheel assembly and everything shoots off and bolts down the freaking center of I-40, going like, I don't know, a zillion miles an hour. As we drop our ass down and come skidding across, I come skidding into the right lane, level out a little bit, continue my skid, get to the shoulder, get parallel. My brakes, they're gone. Like, there is no brakes. They've been like shredded off the entire back. And I somehow come to a skating stop parallel with the road. Lauren sees where the tire goes. It doesn't kill anyone. It goes off just under the underpass.
It bounces off a pine tree.
Pine tree. She goes and recovers that. We have to get it on a wrecker and bring it to Charlotte. But we had I was like $7,000 in damage.
Wow.
And that was day 1. And Mercedes-Benz USA and Hendricks Mercedes of Charlotte covered it. And then for 2 subsequent major breakdowns, Mercedes-Benz USA helped out. So we never had a corporate sponsor in the, I guess, like official sense. No one ever posted their name on our van and said, we sponsor you. We had one very generous donor and 2, generous donors as well. But Mercedes-Benz USA, without them, we would have been stopped in our tracks so many times, because we sold our condo, in Mania. We sold everything we had and invested, and we saved. We bartended. We both worked at the aquarium on Roanoke Island in the shark tank. She was full-time. I was part-time, like cleaning the shark tank, and she would give briefings under full face mask and stuff. And we taught scuba privately, but we only had 2 students ever. And then we like waited tables and bartended, and we really, really pushed it hard and saved everything we could for like 2 years. And then we sold everything we had. So basically everything we owned, we invested. And then the only full, like really salary we had was I'm on CRSE, combat related specialty compensation. So that's like in lieu of retirement. So that and my disability were our only continual income. So we self-funded like 90% of the mission. And it was very expensive, but in doing so, the people we met and the incredible connections we've made. There was a time when we connected like a Vietnam veteran to his son that had like a 40-year gap in no communication. And we were able to, during their interview, he came in and they met. And we didn't script this. This was all organic, and it's crazy to think, but it actually real time happened organically, where this middle-aged man came to his Vietnam era father's interview because his father, because of what he experienced in Vietnam, wasn't a very nice father. So they were disparate. They didn't have a relationship for a very long time. And we saw the cathartic healing happen real time during this interview. This is an interview we didn't use for all of this reason. They asked us not to. And we respect that. But those are the types of like actual healing real time that we saw. So it was like, man, it was so powerful in every which way, academic, historic, for the veteran experience and buddy check and just being a good human being and looking out for other humans. And the connections we made and stuff. We're going to be writing books. This book is coming out June 30th. This book, it will be the most unique book anyone ever reads, guaranteed. There's never been a book, anything quite like this ever. And that's only the beginning. There's so much more coming because we couldn't put all 317 heroes in here, let alone the 440 fallen that we've honored on the sides of our van. And then the countless Gold Star families that we just always continually always keep meeting. And that's the tragedy. The most tragic part is always the Gold Stars. You know, they hit you right in the heart. So
where I am here, I see both the Purple Hearts and the Gold Stars. They're on a daily basis here, right outside Fort Campbell. So, they're every day. I work on base still, so I still see the memorials. I still see some brothers they were young brothers when I left the service. Now they're old men too, just like I was. But they're still in, and they're still feeling those same wounds and dealing with those things, and still reaching back to those Gold Stars that we served with and making sure they're okay. And those Gold Stars saying, yeah, we're fine. Are you okay? And that's the turn that we've seen recently, is them asking us how we're doing after all those years, us reaching back to them. So it's a real cool turn that we're seeing now.
Yeah, it's a family. It's a family that, you know, their sons or husbands or daughters or brothers or whomever you're talking about, that person signed up for it. They just, after that person was lost, you know, joined a unique family they never anticipated ever being a part of. So for them to get enough clarity to check on, you know, the battle buddy or the wingman or the Marine or whatever you're talking about of the other individual is freaking fantastic, man. And that's progress. That's amazing.
It's awesome. And the way you guys were able to, I was looking at the map as well. That's a wild line. The zigzag of the line is amazing. You missed this whole area somehow. I'm not sure, but it's like there's a force field in this whole area. Wow, how'd they miss this area? This is rich area you're looking for.
So there's certain areas on there where it branches off, and those are areas where the van went into long-term maintenance. So of those miles and days, 67 were spent in rental cars. Wow. And like almost 7,000 of them were spent in rental cars as well. So, and it's really cool when we look at it. So we kept meticulous details every time we stopped for gas, what day it was, what town it was, what state it was, how many gallons of either petrol or diesel did we get, whether we were in the van or rental car, you know, the price of it. and what we ate everywhere. We kept so many details that we have organic real-time data of the entire country last year. And we ran a crazy thing, Rich, in that we looked at what it would have cost us if we did it right now with the price of gas and diesel right now. And this mission would have cost us 14,000 more than it already had, based on the difference right now in just those two things. So it was a very expensive mission. And but like I keep saying, we are massively in debt when it comes to monetary amount with it. But the connections we've made and the people we've made and the purpose we found in our lives and in Lauren's scholarly endeavors, and she could talk more about that. But I think these are not things you could put a price tag on. And I don't know, college graduates and people pay to go on an internship here and there all the time. This wasn't a pay to play to be part of a week-long thing. This was spending money on fuel and resources to be able to get to real human beings and talk to them and connect to them. So it's like, these are not even in the same categories to me.
That's an awesome endeavor you guys went on there. We do have 3 questions from the audience in the chat already, so we'll start hitting them now. You already answered some of these, but they might have joined late, so we'll just jump in there with them. This is from Salzburg Ron. Kevin, what inspired you to launch Band of Valor after your own military service? Thanks, Salzburg.
Okay, well, so Lauren alluded to it earlier that, well, she said it earlier that our nonprofit makerspace went out of business during COVID. So we were trying to figure out our purpose now. And I'm a person that if I don't have a purpose, it's not going to end very well. I found myself spiraling, going in circles. And then we were out walking our dog in this place where people walk their dogs on the island we lived on. And as we were going there was a Purple Heart plate on a car. And I just left a message under the windshield. Hey, I'm a Purple Heart recipient. Call me. Very weird thing. We went and walked our dogs. Anyway, one thing led to another. He called. We had lunch with him. And he and his wife were married before he was drafted to Vietnam. He actually went to college. He was from upstate New York. He went to college. He was not a good student. He wound up failing out of college, got immediately drafted, went to Vietnam. He went over there. He was wounded in Vietnam down in Phu Bai. He suffered some Agent Orange, a whole plethora of things. And he came back and went on and worked for the New York telephone service, Atlantic Bell, and a number of other things, and had a whole nother career. Never told his wife about his experiences in Vietnam, not even a whisper. And we were having lunch together. It was like him and I, Lauren and his wife, and he was like asking me all about my Purple Heart because I have the plate, he has the plate. I was like, I want to hear about yours. You're Vietnam. But I've placated him at first. No, it wasn't placation. I was genuine, but I was like, I just didn't feel worthy. So in that way, I say placating. But I began telling him my story anyway. And it was one of those situations, when you're talking and someone talks over you, they're not being rude, but what they have to say is important. So you're just like, can you back off? It was that, and the floodgate opened, and he just started telling all of his trauma. And I saw his wife whisper, like mouth to mine, I've never heard any of this. And I had just heard that they were married before he went to Vietnam. And I thought, how in God's name has she never heard that? And we finished our lunch. We were humble and polite, everything we needed to be. We left, and we just sat there, and we were like, what the F just happened? Like, how did that happen? Is it your anthropology background? Is it me being combat wounded? Was it a mix of each? But there was magic that happened. And to get back to the question from the audience, we knew then that we had a gift to be able to get the story out of people that they wanted off their chest. And not that we're psychologists or anything. I don't even want that. That's crazy. I don't even want to be part of that world. I like what we're doing, but we knew that there's power in that the two of us together were able to get them to want to tell their stories. And we shared stories, and we cried with so many people, and we laughed with so many people, and drank beer with so many people, had cool food. I mean, whether it was lobster or pizza in Connecticut or barbecue in either of the Carolinas, they could punch each other out endlessly about it. And everywhere else, it was just the cool people, right? And yeah, it was in us, and it just became our destiny almost. That was a great question.
Outstanding. Great answer too. I think that's an answer that tells the story a lot more about the Van of Valor, that the passion it gave you to go, and your trigger to go, your fire to underneath both of you to get out there on the road in that beautiful Sprinter van and roll in your 50 square feet, which is about what I'm looking at right now if I cut off half your room. But
yeah,
without the book.
Yeah, exactly. It was it was rough, man, because you're thinking about all the weather and all the different places in the country. And if you're from Maine, or let's just say you're from Boston, let's be normal because not many people are from Maine, and you go on vacation to Florida, you fly, and when you come back, you have to have your jackets. You have some planning with clothes. We had a plan for the entire country all at once in a van. So we had like 3 t-shirts apiece, a few long johns, a jacket, a pair of wool socks, a pair of swim trunks. Like, it was such, the planning, the packing, everything was impossible to really logistically do. And we're not experts. So we were just figuring it out as we went along, tragically so.
2 warm hats, 2 warm gloves.
Yeah, share them sometimes, man. It was crazy. The 2 of us in a wiener dog trying to stay warm with a little camping heater one night. Few nights.
Nights.
Several nights.
Nights.
Venting it so we don't die.
Yes, because that's a great plan right there.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is from Everybody Dance. Lauren, how has your academic background shaped the way these stories are being preserved? Thank you, Everybody Dance.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a wonderful question. So I have been able to go through all of the technicalities and all of the mumbo jumbo that academia requires, the certain ways that things are phrased. And so I'm able to bypass all of that and make sure that these are preserved as the candid interviews, the archivable transcripts, as well as the academic version of the paragraph of how to use it, cite it, and how to incorporate it into other forms of research. So yeah, the academic background has been a unique way to shape these stories into what I hope to be preserved for generations to come.
Outstanding.
It will be.
It will be. It definitely will be. How people will say their names every time they read that book. And that means they'll stay with us forever. And same thing we do with the Honor Project or the Travis Mannion Foundation. We go to cemeteries across the country on Memorial Day and we say their names.
So important, Rich. So important.
Keep
That's
it alive.
I started making those crazy songs. It's like a few of the names in here, it's like they're stuck in my head. Well, but I'm crazy anyway. But I'm also thinking there's tactile learners and there's auditory learners. I'm like, with AI being what it is, and I could help it, if I wrote the story, I wrote the lyrics. If it could help me like make a tune out of it that's catchy and it helps the stories be remembered and retold, let's try it. And I don't know if there's a there or not, because it's not. I would like real bands and real people to do this. I was able to do that one time in the past, and I would love to do that again, like continually. But I don't know a lot of people in that world, but there's some kind of power to hitting all the senses, right? And so right now I'm like a little bit playing with that, and it's good and bad, it's AI. So I don't know. I try to stay away from it with everything else in life, but the music, it's scratching an itch, but it's also creating more of a dissonance in me. So I'm not sure what that is.
It's giving you more hunger to be more creative. That's what it's doing.
Yeah, and to find real people. Like, I don't want a fake trumpet. I want a real one.
Someone can actually play it, not just play the recording. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And our next one comes from Give and Take. What story from the road has impacted you the most so far?
Can you go first?
So there was a story from the road that it's a very, 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 very sad story. There's no other way to put it. But it was a gentleman named David Allwine, Sergeant David Allwine, who was at a terrible situation in Vietnam where his fire base was attacked overnight, and VC had penetrated the wire and everyone on his base was killed, except he and one other gentleman. He was hit with an RPG and knocked unconscious and presumed to be dead. And when they came through and they, shot the people who were questionably dead, they shot him in the stomach. That lodged into his side of his stomach, and that restarted his heart. So it became he and one other NCO, Sergeant First Class Sally, was he and David Allwine, and 16 South Vietnamese soldiers then began a walk up to North Vietnam, which ended up taking him 40 days. He had a sucking chest wound. His shoulder was shattered. His, what do you call it where you breathe from? Esophagus?
Diaphragm
was torn. He had a bullet in him, and he had to walk for 40 days. Along the way, there was a lot of torture, a lot of abuse. They wound up beating Sally so bad that he had to then bury his friend there on the trail, the only other English speaker. So now as he and several of the South Vietnamese have also succumbed, but he and a handful of South Vietnamese, he was the only one speaking his language basically, then had to continue the walk. So he walked 40 days all the way to North Vietnam, and that was towards his captivity. It lasted another 720 days. So the man's 3 years of absolute hell, when he told me this, he immediately needed a beer, and then he needed to go to his room to lie down. And he said he would need his caregiver, and he was going to have a hard few days. I feel so bad that I did that to him, like so freaking bad. But I'll tell him, and I can't even compare what he's been through to my little bit, but I didn't sleep for like 3 weeks. Like I couldn't sleep. Lauren will tell you, I drove all day, and then I just lay there in bed, and I couldn't get out of my head, and I couldn't write the story. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to tell a story. I was so scared to not do it the justice it deserved. And I carried this for like 2.5 weeks until finally we were in Cody, Wyoming, I think it was. And Lauren said, you need to sleep. And I'm like, I can't effing sleep. It's Allwine. And then I'm sorry, I wasn't cursing him, but he was like, there was a ghost in my head sitting on not just my brain, all of my being. And so like a crazy person, I sat there all night, and I just without the laptop at first, it was pen and paper, letting it rip. And then I ran out of ink. And then I got out my laptop and I continued to write. And this was 10 o'clock when I started. And 7 a.m. the next morning, Lauren gets up. She comes in there. She's like, did you sleep? I'm like, shh, I'm almost done. She's like, I'm going to make coffee. So I'm in here, and it's 9 a.m. She comes in with coffee, and she went and got breakfast and stuff. It was done. It needed a lot of edits, mind you, but it was out. I had a cup of coffee. I had some bacon and eggs, and then I went and slept for 8 hours. And it was that for me was the hardest. It really consumed every faction of me. It was hard to talk to my kids or her mother or anyone on the phone. It was hard to be normal. I just felt like I was so petrified to do his story wrong that, it took a lot out of me, but I think I've done a good job about it, and he thinks so. And, yeah, man, it's powerful, but that was from, you, babe?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Just watching you go through the whole process of carrying Allwine's story until it finally came out. It was, I don't know. I'm so thankful that I was able to see you go through this transition at least once, so it didn't freak me out in the future when you go into these need a Zen mode to get it out kind of thing. And it's only a matter of the right time. There's nothing that I can really do other than make the situation comfortable until I can get it out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We've both had those moments, but yeah.
We have.
Yeah.
Different caliber of story, but one that stuck around with me was we were at this place called Carl's Four-Wheel Drive Performance Center and home of Stand Proud Veterans Tribute and Museum. And it's a whole museum. This side of it is a performance center where they make these cool trucks. They can do all these cool things. And then there's this truck over here that actually has a hydraulic system to be able to stand straight up. So that's where Stand Proud comes from. But it is a tribute truck to those who passed away in the global war on terror. And so they ran out of space on the truck to write all of these names, that it continues on the inside of the truck bed, the panel on the wall, and it just keeps going on and on and on. But it was at this site that we ended up conducting, I think it was 13 interviews back to back to back in one day. All these Vietnam guys, two Iraq, one Afghanistan. And there was this one Gold Star family that really stuck with me. It was this couple named Ron and Luann Peak, and they were talking about Ron's older brother, Dennis. Now, Dennis is 14 years older, and growing up on this farm in rural Illinois, it was just the way that this little brother had such admiration for his big brother. He graduated top of his class in high school, went on to GM had this hybrid program where you could work in the factory and get your degree at the same time. So he did that, but he thought that once you had your degree, then the draft wouldn't get you. But no, the draft would come around for you after you had your degree. And so rather than let the draft get him, he decided to commission, and he became a fighter pilot. So this guy who, big name in his town, the way his little brother looked up to him, just continued on. Like, there is this presence because his shadow box was also in this museum, and we did this interview right in front of it. And the more that Ron talked about his older brother, the more it was almost like his spirit was being lifted off the wall, and like he was with us almost. So yeah, he fighter pilot dude, drove his Corvette on land like it was his fighter jet. Got to learn all of these really cool stories about him. And then his last stateside assignment before shipping off to Vietnam was to be an escort for the Miss Universe pageant. He's like, well, no, I'm a fighter pilot, dude. What am I supposed to do? This is too glitz and glam. He got assigned to Miss Spain. He couldn't speak a lick of Spanish. She couldn't speak a lick of English. He got reassigned to Miss USA, and then she won. She won the whole of the Miss Universe. And so it's just an exploration of, well, if Dennis was this kind of character to all of the people in the town, this is how his little brother talks about him, what kind of conversations did he have in the wings to encourage this woman to actually go forth and win? And so it was just based on a photograph that then actually turned into my first book that stuck with me, because it was just an exploration of, wow, this guy's spirit was so big that even after he passed away, they built a steeple on top of the church because they couldn't contain all the people who needed to attend.
Wow.
And so it's just this magnitude of spirit that just kind of stuck with me. And I Googled the person who won, Sylvia Hitchcock, 1967. She passed away of cancer. So Dennis died after 47 successful flights. His 48th, he was fatally shot down in Vietnam. Sorry, spoiler alert for that part. But that's what made the Gold Star family. And so these two people were long dead. And the only part that makes it historical fiction is I put conversations in the mouths of these two. Other than that, it's as factually accurate as I could make it.
It's on Amazon right now. It's actually... yeah, here it is. It's in the last few pages of it are a
wingman for Miss Universe
preview,
and it's the first chapter of the Van of Valor in the last few pages.
Hold it up again.
A wingman for Miss Universe.
Beautiful, and that is on Amazon, right? Awesome.
Yep,
that is outstanding. Those are two great examples of great stories you guys seen on the road. The great road that you guys are on.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing both of those and not giving away too much of what's in the book, so people can actually sit down with the book or listen to the Audible version later while they're driving on their own roads to wherever they go.
Of course. It's you know, it's a tremendous burden sometimes, the people we've met and the stories they've unburdened themselves with, you know, that we've been placed upon ourselves willingly. So it is definitely, we weren't drafted. This is definitely all voluntary army over here. We definitely volunteered to put it all on our shoulders, but it's such an honor. And man, it's like, it has become like a lifelong commitment. Like, you can't ever turn away from it. We've gone too far that now we have to remain committed no matter what to continuing this mission and these stories. It's too important. There's livelihood and lives at stake.
Just after we moved here to Northport, we were asked to interview a Purple Heart Korean War veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And we have his interview. Mm-hmm. We haven't posted it quite yet, but
it's coming.
Yeah, the mission never ends.
Never ends. It never ends. And I mean, all you have to do is turn on the news and see that Gold Star families are being created every day, and also airmen are getting shot down for the first time in my lifetime. You know, I mean, it's who knows what's happening next. So
for 20-something years, we never had to look up. So now we have fighter jets getting shot out of the sky.
Yeah,
it's a whole new world out there, and hopefully our brave women and men who are on the front lines right now know that we're behind them and we'll support them no matter what.
Yeah, agreed.
We got a bunch of questions popping in here. I'm going to try to get through them as quick as possible for you guys.
Awesome. No worries.
All right. So when others fall, what have you learned about America by traveling and meeting these families? Thank you. When others fall.
So what I've learned about America is that we may perceive here and there that patriotism's waning. We may perceive that that sometimes from our own lenses that hope is lost. But we talked to a Gold Star family in Waycross, Georgia, and in Savannah, Georgia, and places that communities that there wasn't a lot of hope for a long time. And in those communities, they still talked about the beauty in that. In this case, they were both daughters, 24 years old, that gave their lives for this country, and they were killed in a drone strike in Jordan in 2024. Very new Gold Star families. And they were Black, if that matters. If you're looking at all the socioeconomics and politics that happened in this country for a while, there could be a lot of reasons for them to question why their kids were serving. There could have been a lot of reasons for them to question a lot. But their firm patriotism and their firm commitment into the bigger picture and what America is solidified so much in me. And those are just two examples, but it was all of the communities all across America, some of the tribal areas, which frankly we didn't belong, but once we made them understand why we were there, we were family to them. So we didn't really see many. There were no drawbridges. There were some closed doors, but with the right knocks and verbal judo and able to present what we were actually doing, we were almost always able to, even if we weren't able to relay the story, we were able to come in and meet people and begin their path of healing, which kind of became the second part of our mission, was the buddy check. It just inherently became, and we didn't know how to turn it off. If that answers your question. Yeah.
Well, I understood the answer. Yeah, so that's good for me, and I hope who was it? When others fall, got the right answer they were looking for there. And the Tower 22, the three of them that we lost there from Georgia, that was a tragic accident, and hopefully things like that don't happen again in the future, where all systems don't go the right way and bad things occur. So those three warriors went to heaven that day, and we're still with them.
Yeah. We met two of the Threeds families.
So the next one is Ice Lemon Tea. Why do you believe there is a growing disconnect between civilians and veterans? Thank you, Ice Lemon Tea.
Okay, what I think it comes down to, based on my experience, I've never put on the uniform, but I was born into the Army. I was born into this pace of life, and when I came of age and I was an adult on my own, I found that the pace of the civilian world just never made sense, because my life had been entirely surrounded with, you have a mission, you set the plan, you achieve the objectives along the way, and you do it all in a timely fashion. I believe that civilians have taken the luxury of time in this country to a different definition, so that once veterans who have been through multiple years of the military fast pace of life and just the number of missions that can get done within a set period of time, that it becomes a disconnect in the setting of priorities and the timeliness of being able to achieve them, which then creates, I can sit here and have a long conversation just like this. Or we can do bottom line up front. Let's go ahead. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of it, and then let's continue on. Or we can continue to sit around and ponder and think. And so it just creates this back and forth dissonance. And I'm not exactly sure how to approach a solution, but I've observed different understandings of the value of time.
Definitely. And, I think that's a part of the problem when veterans get out of the military and go into that civilian workforce. The veteran wants to get things done now, and if you're given a task, you want to finish it today. But in the civilian world, every task has hours assigned to it. So that task could be given 40 hours, but Johnny and Josephine veteran might do that thing in 2 hours and be sitting there saying, what can I do next? So then they get bored and they leave that first job or second job until they finally found the thing that they get to do instead of they got to do.
Exactly. And I thought, Rich, as a veteran and knowing that Lauren hasn't served, I thought cautiously about maybe grabbing that last one and not letting her take it for perception. But I thought it's really important that she took it, because what people may not see is that she, at the minimum 3 days a week at the Ivy League levels, is fighting in the arena for the image of the veteran and the service member in a time when there is definitely a growing disconnect between the service member and the veteran in the Ivy Leagues. And I'm not blaming the administration. I think a lot of this academia has done to itself, and it's been a lot of infiltrated ideology. However, Lauren is if I'm in those arenas, I'm seen as a veteran student. She approaches it from within, and she fights in those arenas every day as a veteran spouse and a veteran daughter. It's interesting. So I thought for a moment about making sure to get that one for her for the perception, but I think it's kind of important that she answered that, and I think she got it right, because civilians need to understand and inform each other also about our experiences. There's just not enough of us out there to do it on our own.
I think she hit a home run with that answer. It goes right in with what we see from our side as we come out as well. So that's amazing. Thank you for that answer, Lauren. We have one more from the audience. I can't read the name for this here, so I got to make it bigger. Oh, be who you are. What can everyday Americans do to better honor sacrifice and service?
I am going, can I say something real quick? And then I'm going to go ahead and borrow something from my buddy Sam Deeds, Gunny Deeds, who talks sometimes about when he was at an event in, I think it was Blue Ash or somewhere in that area in Ohio, and he was looking up, and as he's talking, the person he was talking about's name was on the sign. You know, the signs that are on the roads and the highways? I think something every American can do is that communities, sometimes it's funded by the state, sometimes the town, some areas sadly don't fund this at all, but some communities use their own real money, real resources to put up Purple Heart tributes and these tributes to people on the roads. And I think the least we can do as Americans, and if we don't want to be distracted drivers, fine, but as we get out and we walk down the streets, is to take a look at those and say their names and pay attention. We've done it. Where was the place? Virginia,
Virginia City, Nevada.
Virginia City, Nevada. The whole stretch of that city is lined with names of service members from that area who fought, and all of the fallen from areas near way like Lake Tahoe in California, and the whole regional area right there around Reno and all that. And it's just tremendous to walk down the street and Corporal so-and-so, so-and-so, Lance Corporal so-and-so, so-and-so, Petty Officer so-and-so, so-and-so. And you're just, for us, that is saying their name and taking the time to look and stop. And when there was something about them, read it. And that's a lot to do when you're driving, but I think also driving, if people have the time and you have the bandwidth and you can safely do so, look up at those signs, because people put them there for a reason. I think that's something easy all Americans can do, because you don't really see that in other countries. You don't see that level of patriotism. So it exists here, and we got to keep rolling so it exists more and exists greater. Great question.
Yeah, Me and my partner at work, we just did a road trip for work during the TSA shutdown. So we drove from Tennessee all the way up to Frederick, Maryland. And we took the mountain route.
Mhm.
And once you go through the smaller towns and cities along the way, that's what it is. Every bridge has a name on it. Lance Corporal or Spec 5 this.
Mhm.
It's named after him, and they keep those memories alive. And it's great we said their names every time we drove over a bridge or every time we went over that highway. So it's just something me and him do every time we go. And we also point out all the haunted houses that we believe are haunted just by looking at them as we're driving by them. But
That you gotta have fun. Yeah.
yeah, and that's what we do. That's our road trip game. So find the haunted houses and say their names if they're on the walls, on the signs. And I think that's a beautiful thing we do in this country. And people forget that a little bit when they get into their little boxes and their little in their cell phone box and look at what they can be angry at instead of look what they can be happy about.
Yeah. And oftentimes, if you're angry right there on your highway because you're in the Miami traffic and it sucks or wherever you're at, and you look up and you see Lance Corporal so and so's name, and you just remember it, and you look at it later, I guarantee their day was a lot worse than yours. So,
yes,
perspectives.
Yeah, their name's on that sign for a reason.
Yep,
it's not because they had an awesome day that day.
Right.
Well, we just blew through 70 minutes. That's an awesome chat, and you guys were awesome. Thanks for sharing both books. But now I have my final two questions. If you've seen our show before, those last two questions are the hard ones. The first one is how does the audience get in contact with you if they want to chew your ear off like I have, or maybe get you on their show?
Okay. Our website is www.helpvov.com, or we're on all the socials, Van of Valor. We're big on Facebook, about 85,000. We're on Instagram. We're on everything. You can always email us. You can drop a comment on there. Contact us through any of our socials. We want to come on your podcast. We want to come on your radio show. We want to come on whatever you have, because I just saw Joel Tavera's face pass by and all these other faces pass by. And these are the people right there. We want to talk about Joel. That's me right there interviewing him, which is kind of cool because Joel is really, 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 really a tremendously awesome gentleman. So right there, https www.helpvov.com, and send us an email, and we'll connect.
Outstanding. The website is awesome. There's also an interactive map on there as well. If you want to go on there and see how everything went along the trip, and a blog that accompanies it. So it's an awesome website. Check them out. It's helpvov.com. So now the harder question. What's 3 things the Misfit Nation, our audience, can start doing tomorrow to be better people?
You want to take one?
Well, just to repeat what both of you guys have said, one thing that you can definitely start tomorrow is just pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to when a name is put up, and pay attention. Just pick one thing that makes you happy to be living in America, whether it's this flower that you pass by on the sidewalk that is persevering through the cracks, or it's the way the sunlight glimmers off of the name on a street sign. Just pay attention to one of those kinds of details that you can carry forward.
And I'll say number 2, take every opportunity to inform, not just the people who already think like you, but those who don't. Quick anecdote. At a place in Northern California, right during a No Kings protest, had someone come in, ask about what we were doing. We had our Van of Valor stuff on, told them about it, immediately started dogging the soldiers of the Vietnam War, on and on. I said, let me stop you right there. I'm not here to argue with you, but let me just tell you some names of sacrifice in the Vietnam War. And I dropped like 10 names right away and what they did. And I'm like, you know what? If you really want to talk, I'll buy you a beer. But if you're going to just shoot off and be crazy, let's just go our separate ways. But he actually sat down and we talked. And I don't know what I informed him of, but I like to think I left him far more informed than when I first met him. So it's just reaching out to all audiences and knowing that you're not going to win everyone, but try, because these guys, these people, we're all worth it as veterans. We need to keep advocating for ourselves and those who we've worked with and those still serving. So yeah, try to push through those walls. And number 3, do you want it or?
Do you have one?
I will say number 3, what would make you a better human being is if you read the Van of Valor book. Reading the Van of Valor book, which comes out June 30th. And that will make you a better human being because the stories in there will blow your mind. David Allwine will make you cry. It makes me cry when I read it. And I don't cry very often, but that story, it'll make you a better human being.
Outstanding. Lauren, Kevin, thank you for sharing your journey with us at the Misfit Nation. And I got to hear it in the green room. Thanks for sharing Sonny's journey with me as well.
Yeah, of course. You guys have a great night. And thank you, everyone, for having us. Misfit Nation. Whoop, whoop. Let's dance.
Whoop, whoop. Let's do the dance. Do that dance. Misfit Nation. Remember, as we talked about those who were fallen, we know a lot of you go into those dark places. If you feel those clouds, those walls caving in on you, just stop. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. We need you here tomorrow. Tomorrow is better with you than it is without you. Dial 988. If you don't want to do that, phone a friend. You have 3 names in your wallet at all times. Call those 3 names. They want to hear from you today, tomorrow, the next day, and forever. If that don't work, reach out to us. info@themisfitnation.com, Steven@themisfitnation.com, or Jake@themisfitnation.com. We will talk your ear off until we get the help you need in your local community, so you're with us tomorrow. Until next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.